So we've got quite a few people on. You'll notice, members, that you'll be muted as you enter the room. We have over 200 people that have been registered for this.
You didn't say that.
That's what I was saying. I was going to tell you. So while you were talking just before this came on, I was frantically trying to upgrade our Zoom package so we could let more than 100 people on. So I'm expecting more than 100 people on today, which is fantastic news. But it does mean that we've got everyone muted, at least to begin with. That doesn't mean that if you do want to jump up and ask a question or something like that, toward the end we'll have a Q&A session, or if you've got a burning question that you feel you need to interrupt everyone, just be mindful this session is being recorded. So you will be in the recording, and down to you whether you want to do that or not. Otherwise, we have a chat function down at the bottom right here, and you can pop those in, for which myself and Laura will be monitoring throughout the night, and we'll ask Fabienne the questions as she talks, but we'll try and save most of the kind of irrelevant ones or less relevant ones for the end. So because we've got so many people on, usually I feel like I don't need to introduce myself because I've done about 100 of these, but I suspect we'll have some that don't know who I am. My name's Anthony Bailey-Grice, and I'm the Managing Director of LMPG. I suspect you all know what LMPG are, but we are a buying group for private landlords with about 5,500 people on. We've got Laura on tonight. Hello, Laura.
Hello.
And this is Laura's second ever webinar. So coming in straight out the gate, we did one last month, and then this second one, which is probably going to be one of our biggest ever, is going to be quite exciting for her. You excited?
Sure am.
Yeah, and of course the reason we're all here tonight, Fabienne Miler of Fabienne Interiors. I know you changed your name, change your business name about 2 years ago, and I always forget. Welcome, thank you so much for joining us. So Fam, do you want to start sharing your screen? And we're going to be talking tonight all about interiors, how to make your interiors stand out from everyone else. There's no use me droning on about it because I don't know what I'm talking about. That's why we've got the expert on. So take it away.
Lovely. Well, look, thank you very much. I'm glad you didn't mention how many people registered before, but this is awesome, and I'm really excited because actually it just shows how important interiors now has become. Where we were just talking about that, where it used to be a nice to have, it's not anymore. This is what can make the difference in a business. And we talked a couple of years ago, so I was invited a couple of years ago. And honestly, I was going through the presentation I did then and preparing this one. The difference in the market, the difference in how things have changed is huge in how people are, how the market is. There's so much difference. And I think this is important to be on board with it because things are not the same anymore. So in this presentation, I mean, there's a lot. Anthony just saw the 60 slides, but a lot of them, they're just photos, they're just inspiration, they're just ideas, but they're also numbers. It's all about helping to understand the impact of interior in your business. No matter what your strategy is, it's relevant. It's more than relevant. It's what you need to make a difference in what you do. So there's going to be, I'm going to talk a bit about these differences, what's changed in the business, in the market. Then there will be some, because it's all about the numbers. It's all about, the fluff is one thing, but the numbers ultimately, it's what basically help to make this decision and to invest in interior. At the end, we will have hopefully some time for some Q&A, I'm sure. So there we go. Let's just start, and thank you. Thank you for having me tonight, Anthony and Laura. Always a pleasure to kind of be part of, your group and what you do. Always massively honored to have the little LMPG logo on my on my website. And yes, it's brilliant that I've got the opportunity to share that with all your members. Sorry, I'm trying to click, but this is not coming. There you go. So your rooms are your best marketing tools, and that. A couple of years ago, so this is it. When I started this job, for me it was fun. For me it was just I was good at it, and I didn't really realize at that point the difference it was making in my client's life. And it's only with time, as I started doing it, that I saw indeed what difference it makes. And this is why I have now a bit of a mission to talk about it, because anyway, the numbers will talk for me. So let's move on. So I'm Fabienne Miler. I'm a property stylist, and I've got a company called Fabienne Interiors. So I work specifically, but not only, with service accommodation and HMOs, but more and more, there's other strategies also, like new development that are coming in, because I think everyone is getting on board with it. I've got this photo, and when I talk about it, normally I say that both my kids, Margot and Pierre, they want to become interior designer when they're older, but my daughter told me yesterday that she wants to become a YouTuber. So that's it. The dream is broken. So how I got into that, and I think this is the essence of what I do, is I was a tenant for many years, and a very frustrated tenant, because back then, and I think still now, the walls were white, I could not hang anything, and I was traveling a lot, and it never felt like coming back home, right? I was massively frustrated of never feeling like I had a nest that I could go back to, my little nest. And this is when I started fantasizing literally about colors and what I could do to rooms. And I think this is what kind of brought the philosophy of what I do, is bringing a soul, bringing life, bringing happiness, and making a place a home. No matter what it is, it can still be welcoming and inviting and warm. So this is where it all started from for me. If you're here, you might have seen me in the group I host, which is called Property Staging Group for Investors on Facebook. Again, another place which you get a lot of ideas, inspiration. You can ask a lot of questions. There's many other experts on there as well. So a very good place to be in. A massively proud partner of LNPG. I also speak for on the paint circuit, and something I'm going to mention, which is amazing. In fact, Anthony was quite upset with me because I won this award last year, which is International Home Staging Award for Best Home Transformation, with an LNPG members, but I didn't talk much about it.
Well, you did tell us, but then we forgot. Yeah, we should be shouting about that every time we mention your name, to be honest, because it was a fantastic transfer. Is it in the slides later on?
It is. I'll talk about it. Yeah. So in terms of what I do, and it's mostly remotely, unless these are bigger projects or more kind of high end. It starts with the color scheme, and I will talk a bit more about the process of the way I work. Start with the color scheme, and the color scheme comes from the atmosphere, and the atmosphere comes from the people you want to attract. And this is the number one thing. This is always the starting point for any project, is who you want to be in your property. So that was a project it was mostly contractors. That was for an LNPG member, actually. So you can see how you move from like a look and feel, already a bit of an idea, to kind of transferring that, kind of implementing that into your property. The second part of the process I follow, it's kind of the decorating plan. So once the colors are picked, this is when I decide where the color is going to go, and that often depends on how we're going to use the space. Also, is there any problem? Is the ceiling too low? Is there no interest at all in the room? Do we want to create interest through the paint? So this decorating plan is about providing the decorator with everything they need to do their job and know exactly what to do. And finally, the shopping list, which for many is often kind of the most overwhelming part, and the longest, even for me, this is the longest part of the project, bringing everything together so that every item kind of speak to each other. We start making that music, that kind of song across all the property. So there we go, another example. So it's delivered through another visual, so visual per rooms, and also an Excel spreadsheet, basically, of all the items, where to buy them, and the price based on the agreed budget. Something in fact, I didn't talk about that when we spoke 2 years ago. I started, so last year, also training a course called Profit by Design. And that came from different kind of inspiration in terms of where I felt there was a need. So the first one, and it was always a bit of a frustration for me, is when you look into property courses and how interior is seen, it's often what they call it, the rinse and repeat type of model, right? It's more about, okay, get the property out, especially in service accommodation, just list it, don't spend too much, just list it. On rent to SA, how many clients I had saying, I can't, I've been trained, they said spend as little as possible. There we go. And I felt there was something missing there. And what I know also is that there are some people happy to have a professional coming and helping them, but the vast majority of people want to do it themselves. And a lot of people have some skills, have a good eye, but it's all about increasing that, having a process and be able to kind of follow a way of working and having confidence to use color, which is often what makes the difference in the result. So I will, for people who are interested, I'll talk a bit more about that at the end of the presentation. So things have changed. So as I said, it's not only in the market, it's also in people. So the first thing, which is great, is that the color is not scary anymore, right? The first thing, COVID, and I think it's one of the rare things I see that was positive in COVID, is being more open to actually having color. And in fact, if you remember when it first started, B&Q, I think, started seeing like a huge rise in green paint. Everyone wanted paint. And this is when people realized this need of getting atmosphere and getting a well-being and happiness through their environment. And I think it changed how people related to color. And of course, we see, on TV or on social media, Instagram particularly, Pinterest, IDs, loads of colors, it's all around us. Therefore, a lot more inspiration to kind of break a bit that kind of gray, easy, neutral, not alienating anyone kind of philosophy. And the last bit, and in fact, I picked the worst photo to illustrate it, is how on the bottom right, how, stagers, interior designer are using more colors, not white, to actually, create different atmosphere. And I think that also has created a change in the industry. People are a lot more familiar with it and a lot more comfortable with it. The example for me, which is very symbolic of that change, it's within the selling market, because typically and historically, this is a market where you want, what's the expression? You want people to put their stamp on the property. So therefore, white walls, you don't want to put any colors, you want to leave it for them to decide. However, getting more people coming, and the idea is very different now, because what you want to do is to actually use color to create an atmosphere, again, to create a homeliness, because white doesn't give you that feeling, doesn't give you this emotion. And emotion is what you need. Like any purchase decision, emotion is what drives the purchase decision, and color is what creates the emotion. This example, it was in Scotland, very difficult market, and this person approached me. She's like, okay, there's loads of people out there, we all in the same price bracket, I need to be different. We went for colors, and actually within a week she got the asking price met by a buyer who said that basically picked that house because out of everything he visited that was whitewashed, it was the only one that felt like home, because there was a soul in there. And for me, it was such a symbolic kind of step change in how people feel. And also the thing is that as much as I assumed when I started this job, well, before I started this job, is that everyone can picture, can visualize the space, can see color, can see how to use the space, but it's not everyone. It's better to kind of suggest already an atmosphere and a soul to the place so that it feels already homely, because this is how you're going to attract them, by suggesting to them how the place can feel. And that is how you use color. So the other thing that has changed, and I'd be interested to see actually any comments about that the short-term rental is now saturated. So I'd love to know if it's something that you also relate to. And In fact, this slide, just to make a note, this is the slide, Anthony, you were referring earlier, how yellow and gray used to be the kind of go-to kind of look. And actually, as you look at in the background, this is when I started putting some of the competition for a client. This gray and yellow kind of came as the go-to look, and this is why it's so important to be different. But back to this short-term rental is saturated. What I've seen for the job I do is that I get an increased number for the last 6 months of people asking for refreshing the property, because they see that what used to work even like a year ago, the numbers they used to have dramatically changed, have dramatically dropped. So look at these numbers, and this is across, from what I see from the client who approach me, this is what I see across the board. So you see this one on the top left, this is in Kent. Sorry, I have to move the thing, but I can't see the numbers because they're hidden, but I think it kind of doubles and like triple again. And that's in Kent. Liverpool, October 22, 2,500 essays. Today, 4,500 a year. And you can see how exponentially this growth is happening. But then, that's my experience also on the other side. These are 2 projects I'm going to show, literally that just been launched in Liverpool, where at the moment it's very difficult to have these numbers that, were there less than a year ago. This property came out on, beginning of August, and it's now fully booked until mid-October. The photo on the left, they're not even from the photographer. They still haven't managed to get a professional photographer in because the place is booked in. It was all about making a difference again with the colors, with, pop of colors, creating a personality, something different. It was for contractors. And when this client approached me and I looked at the competition, I'm like, yeah, no problem. You're going to get listed straight away because I can see the competition and it's not difficult to stand out. And in many cases, I had always a little look around. And this is why I see it's not difficult to stand out, because a lot of the people kind of do the same rinse and repeat type of look.
Interesting with the short-term accommodation. And I guess you will get the same thing with HMOs and even, standard buy-to-lets, is that you can do up a room in a way that looks really nice. And there's nothing wrong. I mean, I'm sitting here in a white room myself. It's quite nice. The greys and yellows, they look quite nice from a micro perspective of that's the only room that you see. Once you zoom out and you've got the ability to see every room in the neighborhood, which now you don't need to get up from your sofa to see every room in a postcode that's available. All of a sudden, you're not just a single host, you are in a sea of hosts. And this kind of thing, this Liverpool thing, if I'm being honest, I don't think that looks nice, but what it does look is interesting. That is far and away going to stand out from the entirety of the rest of the market, because it's a short-term thing. It's like those hotel rooms in Las Vegas. You'll have an Atlantis themed hotel room. Who on earth is going to paint their bedroom Atlantis themed? No one. Who's going to want to stay in the Atlantis hotel room in Vegas? Absolutely everyone.
Well, yeah, it's not about it's not creating a home like particular service accommodation. I wouldn't live there, but this is not what you're doing. You're creating an experience. You're creating something different, and this is why understanding your market and the strategy you're operating is so important. So this is another Liverpool, so where the market has grown so much. Another project literally that was launched in July. And again, someone who had an amazing August, because again, being a bit less bold with the color, but still maintaining some depth and some interest. This is a property that has worked. So back to this point you just made, guests want an experience, give your room personality, which again is kind of different from where we kind of started, especially, you know, like you said, like even in HMOs, in single let, when you sell, it's the same thing. You need to bring a bit of something. So this one, another service accommodation, I've got other strategies after to see how that relates to other categories. Service accommodation, first 12 months, they've just finished the first year of being on a live, 92% occupancy and almost 50%, 50,000 pounds in revenue. That was for contractors. This is a place that is constantly booked. The result they got was far more than what they expected, and within the market they are absolutely at the top. Even again, it's not only about the occupancy, it's also the kind of price, the rate you can get. And this is the same thing for HMO. You can raise your prices as soon as you start creating something different. This is when you can ask also for more money for it. Back to the emotional decision. This one, this is the most controversial I've ever done, and the one who probably, I had quite a few people getting angry about this one. So I don't know, I'd love to know again in the chat, yes or no, because the no I usually get, they're like, absolutely never. However, there you go. This is a property. I mean, the brief was just brilliant, because the brief came up and it was about bringing a peacock kind of vibe into the property, which was music to my ears. Let me see the in the chat what
It looks fab. I think that looks like, do you know the character Grimace from the McDonald's characters, the big purple guy? That looks like his living room.
Yeah. I mean, I had all sorts, but believe it or not, so it's been listed for 4 months. The midweek, the week is booked by contractors. Yeah. We're getting contractors in this property, and let me show you the show you the next slide. So there you go. This is the property.
Wow.
And contractors, and this is when I talk about this change in the market. Yeah. Contractors law, it may be quite feminine color. Yeah, quite feminine color, and I kind of agree. But things have changed. People are a lot more comfortable with it because it might be feminine, but it's also very fun. It's fresh, it's not serious, and I think people absolutely relate to that. Even contractors, and how many times have I heard, it doesn't have to be special, it's only for contractors. Well, there we go.
Well, I've got to ask then, because I'd written this down earlier on, and this was before I'd seen this property, where my question was, bearing in mind you want to create an experience, you want to do something different, how far is too far? Now I'm thinking that I now need to rephrase this question, because is there such a thing as too far? This is way out there.
Yeah, but the numbers, I mean, back to I mean, these guys, they've been on the market for 4 months, and this is the result they're getting. I mean, this one is a 5-bed in a very busy market. They are over the moon.
Yeah. Were they renting out as service accommodation before? Or was this the
no?
there's
no. I'm going to show before and after in terms of refresh to show how from normal to better, and to show a bit the difference in the not only in the rate but also the revenues.
Thank you.
So how to appeal? So there's different kind of way to tackle that in terms of the intention you put into your design when you start creating your rooms, right? The first thing, I mentioned it before, you really have to pause as soon as you start. You've got to think about your market. Who is it you want? So in this property, was in Sheffield, doing amazing. Again, it was all about the cool, the young professionals. Again, the property that is doing great. They manage even to link with the recording studios. They had Instagram, what are they called these days, like Influencers, there we go. Sorry, I'm showing my age. Yeah, influencers. I mean, this is a cool place to be. There we go. Very niche, but you don't have to attract, you don't have to appeal to everyone, because by being niche, this is how you're going to attract. In that section, you're going to attract everyone. And like you said earlier on one of the Liverpool properties, you said, yeah, it's not really, you know, it's clearly not your taste, but it's interesting. And this is that first step. You want them to get in. You want them to get in and then start getting all the rooms and kind of how they work together, and suddenly they're locked. If they're in, it's half of the job done. And to get them in, you need to stand out. Otherwise, they're never going to look at your listing. So again, I'm in the market, so high-end. This is one of my favorite rooms, more high-end. I'm using a lot more wallpapers. When I started, I was trying to stay away, but actually, especially when it comes to high-end and even lower end, well, let's say middle range, this is something that is very powerful in terms of bringing contrast and interest into a room. And what's good is that if you use wallpaper, you can use less artwork and things like that, because the wallpaper does the job for you. That was a LNPG member the previous one as well. So maintain cohesion, this is essential. So you see this yellow room, pink room, red room, all within the same roof. This is when you lose complete sense of harmony within the space. And this is when a lot of the stuff is unconscious, but basically it doesn't feel harmonious. It doesn't feel peaceful. And what you want to bring is like a flow within the room that makes you feel just kind of settled and grounded, right? As I said, a lot of that stuff is unconscious. So this example was a project, so I had to refresh it, and there was a red backsplash in the kitchen that was not going to be changed. If you got a red backsplash, you've got to include that within the scheme. So for me, already one of the color I knew I was going to have was red. And as you can see, that dot that basically travel across all the rooms, so you find it in the cushion, even at the back of the plants, the canvas, the throw, the print, the cushion, and back in the, so you know, it's just like this invisible thread that you keep going across all the rooms, and this is how you feel at peace.
I'm not sure I understand that. So you've got a red backsplash, so you need to have red.
So the red backs, so basically the point I'm trying to make is that when you have especially if it's a strong color, you cannot just ignore it and have it just in one room and forget about it. It's now part of your color scheme. It's got to be used in all the different rooms to kind of bring them together as a whole.
That color scheme is for the whole property. It's not just a room by room kind of thing.
It's as you create the color scheme, it's for the whole property. And then you kind of pick, it's a bit of a pick and mix kind of thing where but the whole idea is to maintain the same identity, the same feel across the different rooms. And this is the job of color, keeping that unity across the property.
Interesting.
Does that make sense? Trying to look.
You understand, Laura?
I can see it. So it kind of becomes almost the dominant colour in the kitchen, but then it moves to more of the accent colour in everywhere else.
Exactly. You keep that red travelling in all the rooms.
I think I get it. I think it's a nice idea. It's not something I would ever think of. I think for the rest of my life, I would never have thought of that. But as you say, perhaps it's unconscious that you go in and all of a sudden you're confronted with this red backsplash and you think you've gone next door or something.
So look, there's another example which is this one. It was another refresh because the property was not doing as well as it used to. Service accommodation, and there was this main room, orange car on the print. And for me, having especially such a big print in such a strong color, back to our red backsplash in the other room, it's about bringing that color and make it traveling. So in this one, it's just within the same room, but I've applied the same thing across all the rooms. Dots, accents of orange that kind of ties everything in.
I can see that one immediately. I feel like I've stepped through the matrix.
Okay, yes, we got you. Okay, so this is it. This is kind of bringing that kind of sense of togetherness within the room, and the same principle applies to all the rooms, to all the property. Maybe I should have started with this this introduction of, of the principle before the next one.
You've got people in the chat here saying it ties it all together, and basically they got it. They got it. I didn't.
Yeah.
I can understand it here.
Okay, thank you for your comments, by the way, in the chat. Right, so it's the same if you're gonna have a property where you don't use paint. You've got to be even more intentional in how you're going to use the colors in all your furnishing, because this is basically now you're just relying on the furnishing to kind of bring that color and bring that cohesion. So this is when being so clear on your color scheme is very, very important. I always say, you know, given the choice, I think given the choice between furnishing and paint, for me, I would go towards paint, because what paint does, this is what catch people's attention. This is the thing that kind of stands out online, and you need that for people, as I said, to get in. So then this is when they're going to see the furnishing, but the most impact you get, it's always from the paint. So also it's important to change the space perception. It's part of also what you want to do. It's play with the eye, trick the eye, manipulate the space a bit. Mirrors are a great way to kind of expand a bit the room. And I think in some cases it's important to use that trick. The other one is using paint again. This one is an example I show a lot because I love this picture. It was a very narrow, long bedroom, and it just shows how by framing that window in a color, how you suddenly bring that wall back towards you, you make it shorter, but also in the process, you also create almost like a room within a room. And it's part of kind of, there we go, changing the visual perception of the room.
I've got a question about that, because you mentioned this. This was about 2 years ago when we did this before, and I actually took you up on this. I did this myself. So the desk that I'm sat at now, you can't really tell, but this is quite a long, thin room. So I can not quite, but almost touch both walls there, and then that's all the way over there. So this area where the desk is, I painted in, you probably know, Stooky blue, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Johnson's color match. So a dark navy blue up on the ceiling, down the walls, and I created this desk space. So I've got the rest of the room, I've got the desk space here, and it brought it in, made it feel wider and a bit kind of shorter but wider. So it felt a bit better. Now here's the problem. I painted it all back now. Because it was such a dark color.
Yeah.
During winter, when you're sat here all day long, and although you'll see white, I would be looking at this dark blue, and it's a dark day and it's grey skies, and it's just like you're sitting in an awful kind of dark environment all day long, even though only a section of the wall is painted. So when you're doing something like this, are you paying attention to things like that, about what the light in the room is going to be, how that space is going to be used?
Yeah,
I wasn't.
but you need to do my training, Anthony. Yes, you do. You've got to, and this is, you know, if you work with me on a project, one of the questions I ask my clients, especially because I work remotely, it's always, where's the north, right? Just give me. I need to know which one are the darkest room and which one are the lightest room, because this is something to obviously consider for this perfect point you just made. That you've got to understand, you know, the lighting in the room. I've got an example later on where I've painted the ceiling dark blue, and I did that. It was a very light room. But again, you've got two options. It's either you've got a light room, and you therefore can afford to go a bit, you know, more dramatic and darker, or you've got a dark room, but you're happy to embrace that coziness and that drama and that moody kind of atmosphere. But you've got to pick your team. So clearly, I think you were kind of in the middle there.
So the thing is, it looked brilliant when I was stood over there, but I don't.
But it's you know, yeah, to answer to your question, it's yes, absolutely. The principle you have managed to achieve, you know, the change of the space in terms of how it feels within the space, and the room looks shorter and more balanced. But where you know, failed, it's taking into consideration the natural light in the room, and therefore the color you chose. So I would have gone, in your case, I would, especially for a desk, I would have gone for a paler kind of tone. I would not have gone so dramatic. But there we go. So there we go. This is the room we talked about. This room that got me this amazing award. What I love about this is the same way that I managed to stand out amongst, you know, there were hundreds of us in this competition. The same way I managed to stand up amongst them is the same way that Martin, who's a member here, managed also to stand up from his own competition. By being different, by being unique, you then attract people. It's back to this thing. You want to grab them as soon as they scroll down. You've got what, a split seconds to kind of catch things. You see that you want to have a look. It doesn't mean you like it, but you are interested, exactly like you say, Anthony. You want to see, oh, that's different. What is it? Like I put, blending is the biggest risk you can run in property. And like you've just done, you didn't like the color you've used. Of course, you don't want to kind of go back and repaint, but this is not a massive risk, right? When we're talking about property investment, is bigger risk than the color you're going to pick, right? Again, this one was in another one in Liverpool. In fact, the market is very busy there, bringing this joy. It was all a bit, you know, Beatles kind of based, and it was all about capturing this kind of atmosphere, this vibrant and fun. And this is why I went for this kind of Parma gloss ceiling. So there we go. Have you ever seen a Parma gloss ceiling?
I'm thinking it was a bit sort of gloss.
Yeah, and why not? This one was, there we go. This one was taking into consideration few aspects. The room was quite dark, so I was trying to reflect as much light as I could. And also the window on the other side not only was narrow, but also was facing another building. So for me, the key in that room was to create the interest within the room, because you could not rely on the lovely view you had. The wow factor had to happen literally within the room. So this is when I think I pushed the envelope a bit further on this one, because we had to. Another thing, so this is all about how do you appeal, and one aspect which is the core of the job of people who do staging is creating these different spaces, is helping people to visualize how to use the space. And this is why, for instance, in America, staging is such a common thing particularly when you sell, because they have understood that you've got to help your potential buyer to picture how to use the space. And it's the same for any strategy you do. It's creating almost like this, what I call like these pockets of life. It's just help them to picture how, when they're there, how they're going to use it. So this is a project I've just finished last week. London, amazing view on the Shard, penthouse. This is a penthouse in London. It doesn't look like it, does it? Amazing view. And for me, the job in there was really to try to maximize and to capitalize on these views. So what I did is create another little section where you see a chair, hardly, on at the back. And I've like a sitting area where, again, so you've got your TV, settee, you've got your dining room, but now you can also see outside. You've got 3 spaces instead of 2. So creating different, so go on, sorry.
It's interesting because it's a huge difference, but if you think about what's actually changed, it's very little. They've kind of got the bare bones of what you've suggested there. Now you've covered the couch with cushions and put a thing at the back, and you got a light on there. It looks so much more, I guess, inviting is the word. It looks like the furniture is meant to be there.
There we go. And this is not even the professional photo on the right. Still haven't added, but it's again, it's where you start. It's color is one thing, but at the end of the day, it's how you're going to use the space, because this is the experience that people are going to have, and you want to really help them to picture themselves in the space. That chair, I'd love to, you know, I was going to say take a book, but it's probably going to be my phone. But have a book and sit there and watch outside, right? So again, this is not ideal in terms of, okay, you're facing the wall, okay. But there, what I've done is creating, again, sectioning a part of the kitchen, so that now, instead of having just a kitchen without anything in there, you've got also a place where you can sit and, you know, I'd rather be cooking there with one of my kids on the chair than being on my own, and there's no space for anyone to sit. Give them the option, give them the opportunity. And again, across any property, strategy, yeah. Be in, you know, you've got to create all these different areas, because the more areas you create, the more options you give them to, you suggest a lifestyle, basically. And finally, inject joy. This is not, it's not serious after all. Why are you creating particular in service accommodation, but anywhere? It's about cheering people up. It's about using the space and to make people happy. So this one was an easy refresh from the left to the right. I mean, God, you know, I love when I'm called into a project like that, because I know what a difference you can make in the way you feel. You sit in that sofa, and my goodness, you feel 1,000% better than on the left. And this is why you want to offer to your tenant. This is what you want to offer to your potential buyer. So yellow, orange for me is always often a go-to kind of color to do that. I'm gonna check the time because I feel I'm talking a lot.
You're doing okay.
Okay, I still have a bit. Okay, so yeah, even when you're doing high end, even then, I could have gone easily for like a sage wall at the back. Yeah, nice and classy. But no, why would you? Why would you not try to just lift it a bit, just give it a bit of something different to just make feel people happier? Okay, and another way to appeal is obviously to make the most of the LNPG partners. And for me, it was brilliant actually to put these few slides together, because it's how you can bring all the synergies from different services and what you can create with it. So I've used basically some of the, you know, providers, some of the businesses who offer furniture and different things to, well, different LNPG partners, and see what we could do. So I've got 4 of these. So this one, for instance, I mean, I love them. I think, so this one, for instance, it could be easily, this is when you start attracting, you know, it's suitable for your contractors, right? But still, you bring a bit of flower and a bit of color, a bit of pink, so still also suitable for the leisure market. And you can see
garden hand blinds like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got you've got a Lyco,
Yeah.
Lyco, Phi, love their prints, Loft, they've got such a great range of you know, sofas and you know, the rugs they've got. I mean, you've got Fusion. There's a lot in there to actually manage, and of course the painting, it's when you put everything together, you can basically cover any market and any strategy. So these are a bit more luxurious, more kind of in the goldy, more into the more opulent again. There we go. I also used this idea, Anthony, of carry on the color, the color shred across the property. So here, for instance, I would use these kind of tiles, for instance, in the bathroom, to kind of again repeat a bit the color we've got in the living room.
You know what, Fabienne, because I've got those tiles, so every adjective you just used, I'm giving myself a pat on the back.
Apart from the Stifky blue, eh?
Yeah.
This one, a bit more poppy. This one is, again, that would suit contractors. I mean, you've seen like the peacock, so I think they would be absolutely fine here. And also it would suit the leisure market. So you've got a bit of pink, but it's not too much that it would alienate anyone. The blue, and you get the best of both worlds, basically. Curtains, always so important to bring that kind of coziness, but also it just elevates the standard straight away when you use curtains, but even more so if you double it up with kind of a voile. This is the ultimate. And finally, a bit more, you know, this one, for instance, if you're gonna sell, if you do single let, a lot more muted, yet with interest. And you play a bit with the black and the green, a bit of olive color in there. Again, some lovely items in there. Love the rug, the lights loft. Yeah. So there we go. In fact, I should have done this thing. Who's people's favorite? So we've got, there we go. Let's get you involved. One. Sorry, let me go back. One. Oh yeah, this is great. Please, please, I'd love to know. 2, the opulent one. 3, the pink and blue. And 4, more muted.
I've got to go for 2 because got my tiles in there, but 3 is really nice. A lot of 2s and 3s.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going with 4.
You're going with 4?
Yeah, I like this one. I like the green.
But you see, what's interesting there, well, I can see the 2 and the 3, brilliant. Thank you for answering. The 4 is the more muted one.
I like a bit of green.
Yes. You have one person in the chat on your side. Oh, sorry, 2 now. 2 people agreeing with you.
So let's have a look. So this is the 3. Yeah, and the opulent. This is pretty.
Yeah, 2 does come in at close second, but
okay. So you don't like this one then. Interesting. What? Okay. So change of question. What don't you like in this one?
Got a couple of ones in there. I really like the blind in there, but basically I'd forgotten about that one by the time we got to.
Oh, there we go. Maybe it's just because it was the first one, like first one. Okay. Well, there we go. But you know, back to the point I was making. This is brilliant. Yeah, color. People love color. Cold colors. Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, it's called the blue and the and there we go. Blue and black and white. This is more when I talk about this rinse and repeat. There we go. This is where you find these colors. People are very used to see that, but I think we have moved on. Okay, benefit in money, because it's all, you know, at the end of the day, how does that translate in your bank account? So this is a studio that actually managed to charge. You can see again the harmony. You can see how I split the room. Studio is actually charging at the same rate as a 1-bed for this client. But what is, you know, for me so illustrative of that situation, the conversion rate, which is how often your property page convert from I can't see what's returned, from a view to a booking, is 5 times higher than the competition.
10% conversion from just looking at the. Wow.
So this one was an HMO. So this one, it was in Derby, and when it came out, that was one of the room was basically the highest room rate that the agency has seen in the city. Again, by producing something different. Again, you see out here, splitting the room, creating different kind of spaces. Again, playing a bit with the space perception. Yeah, 10-bed HMO, fully tenanted at first viewing. That was a lovely Victorian property where I tried to maintain the overall feel for the client. So this one is the one that, you know, if you've seen me talking before, it's one I use a lot because it's a good case study that showed the before and after. So this one was service accommodation in Nuneaton, 6-bed. 6-bed, and at that point he was only attracting contractors, right? So there was no weekend bookings at all, and the host was only hitting the bottom rates in the market. She was very aware of it, but it was a bit of a not challenge, but let's say she could not see, like many people, she could not see how professional help would actually help this situation, because for her, she's done it a long time and she could not see how it was going to translate. So for her, this investment was kind of unsure. These are the photos I think, Anthony, you've seen before. So this is where it starts, kind of, it was all about maintaining as much as possible of the existing color. It was all white, existing furniture, and it was just bringing some fluff in to give a bit of personality and cohesion and all that. So, you know, first one, you know, I could not even, when I went to visit, I could not even open the door. So it's first you look at the layout and then you start applying different colors.
That's the same bed, is it?
Same bed, yeah, exactly. So they are just same bedside table, just basically that stripe of color, cushions, through all the fluff. This is the example I was giving you. So this one was a very bright room, right? And this is why I allowed myself to go the same color you talked about on the ceiling, because I knew he could take it. And it was, there we go. Often the fear is like, oh, but doesn't it make the room like, you know, like the ceiling going down, doesn't it make it too claustrophobic? Not at all. It makes it amazing. It makes it, you come in and there's the light and there's that ceiling and it's very opulent. Same thing with the corridor. We talked about it before. Corridor, one of my passions. Bring also life, bring that color scheme in there. It's part of the story. Don't let the in fact it has a key role in the story, because this is what links all the pieces of the puzzle together. So you want to maintain that scheme within that. Okay, so these are the benefits in number. So if you remember, it was a struggling service accommodation. So that came a month after he went live. So he moved from a nightly rate of 140 a night to 210. This is the point I was making, that not only you increase your occupancy and what have you, but even your rate. And your weekly revenue came from £700 to basically more than double. He was fully booked for 2 months, which means that suddenly a property that was only attracting contractors started tapping into the leisure market.
You say fully booked because it was empty at weekends before. That's including weekends, is it?
Yeah. And this is why she was now covering, you know, serving not only the contractors but also leisures and family. So yeah, she exceeded. So you remember she was struggling a bit with the idea of investing in interior, but actually she exceeded way what she was aiming to go for. She was actually using a management company to manage a service accommodation, and she decided to take it on because she was so excited about having this family celebrating things, this gathering, contractors being happy, that actually she even, you know, saved again another, I don't know, 20% in the mix as well. And even attracted, I mean, this is anecdotal, she attracted a candle company from Dragon's Den to come and film their TV advert, but because she was fully booked, she could not do it.
That's absolutely brilliant. Anecdotal it might be, but to go from that before to wanting to film a TV advert in the place, absolutely fantastic.
And the point there, it's investing in property, and I think this is where there needs to be like a change in even in mentality. When you invest in property, that includes the interior. It's totally part of it. And I know that often, by the time you arrive at the paint and the cushions, you run out of money, you run out of time, you run out of patience, and you just want to sell, just want to list it. But actually, back to my first point, this is your marketing tool. This is where you've got to pay attention, because this is what's going to sell. This is what's going to make the difference.
The other section as well, where she said that she never thought she would enjoy managing an SA that much. It's so nice to hear that side of it. We were talking before we started really about this. Obviously improves your bottom line. I mean, that's why you would do it. But the side benefit is that you're managing a property that guests want to come and stay in, not that they kind of have to because it's within their budget. You are putting passion into your property and you're getting that back out of it. So I think you can completely understand. You would much prefer to manage that property, regardless of the numbers. The numbers are fantastic, of course, but it's not the full story.
And you're right, and it's, you know, you talk about passion. In the training I talk a lot about love, because it comes from that place where you care, where you pay attention, when you have intention in what you do, and this is how that translates. It's just this, the attention to detail and the overall kind of atmosphere you manage to create. I just questioned the time because it's 41 and we were meant to finish in 4 minutes. So this one, I just wonder, how do you want me to play this one?
I'm going.
I'd say another 15 minutes.
Well, look, this is the kind of bit that I think people are interested in, right? Not that the rest wasn't interesting, but it's all well and good seeing something that you've gone and created, but we've all seen, yeah, that's exactly what I did. You'd shown me a presentation of how brilliant everything could look when Fabienne Miler's involved, and I said, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And then I'm sitting in my dungeon for 2 years until I have to repaint it. So let's find out, how do the lummoxes like the rest of us actually manage to do this?
Okay, thank you, few people saying to keep going. So I keep going. So, right, the same way interior is part of your investment, and you've got to invest time and money in there. It's also in the same way you manage the project of, you know, you refurb, you know, your due diligence, all that is project. Your interior is also another project. Right, so you've got to start from understanding what the scope is, and that starts with the constraint. Again, Anthony, with your your office, it's like this project was about creating like a studio in back garden of an HMO, by the way, which was amazing. It was north facing, so already in my head, and you've seen this bit before, you should have known, it's north facing, which to me already translating, it's dark. So that already is part of what I'm going to consider when I'm going to pick the colors and where I'm going to put them, right? It's a small space. So again, what am I going to do to make it more airy, right? Be with the color, be with the furniture. There's another red unit. There we go. The red, I keep saying that I always have project with red, which is my less favorite color to work with, but never mind. So I've got this red monstrosity in the middle of the room that I'm going to have to deal with. Then it's a dark floor, there's a dark headboard, it's already there. And by the way, before you get an interior, if you're gonna get an interior designer, or if you're gonna design your place, don't pick the flooring, don't pick the kitchen before you have created your color scheme, because already you're reducing the options, you're not considering any of that, you're just going, and then you're like, oh, by the way, what color are we gonna use? So I had dark floor, I had dark headboard, and the market was for couples and businesses. So how do I translate this scope then? So how do I bring warmth? So this is a cold space. How do I bring warmth? So yellow undertone, Anthony, this is what you wanted for your office. So like it was like a pale teal that I use. Vintage LED, so all this kind of warm kind of lights, light wood. You want to bring, you know, like just this warmer kind of and yellower type of tones. Plants, natural element, this is what brings the natural warmth into a place. Then how do you bring light in a dark place? So I use a bit of an eggshell finish, so a bit like the gloss ceiling. I don't often use eggshell finish, but on this one, it was all about trying to reflect again some of the light. Use mirror to reflect, and also the lighting you use. How do you create a feeling of space in a small studio? Lift everything off the floor. Lift. So even the bedside, floating bedside, hanging plants, hanging lights, everything up in the air so that the floor remains empty as much as possible. And then suggest it's a studio, suggest separate areas, back to this thing of, you know, the pocket of life, just suggesting how to use the space. And finally, integrate that red thing. So now, you know, Anthony, use the red across the room so that it just feel all cohesive and harmonious. Right, how did that translate? Okay. So this room, so as you can see, you've got the red, you've got the section of the bed, you've got the softness, you've got everything of the floor to make it area. And what I would say is that there isn't one element, one item that's been chosen in this room that hasn't been chosen for a reason. And this is exactly the place you want to be when you start creating your interiors. You're so clear on your scope that all the choices, they are either based on the color scheme, they're based on what you're trying to do. If it's, you know, if you're trying to create space, even that chair, you see that chair, I picked it see-through, so that again, you can see through the chair and therefore make the space visually a bit more airy. So every single item is chosen according to the original scope. Any questions on that?
Again, I think it's absolutely fantastic. There's so much stuff going on in that picture. It doesn't seem busy at all. Again, it's kind of, you know, one of those things that say how to draw an owl, and you've got to draw a circle, next draw the rest of the owl. I don't think I don't think it's helped with actually how I'm going to be able to do it, but maybe we've got some more design-minded members that can pick up on that.
Right, so the design is powerful. I mean, by now, hopefully, with all these numbers, you've seen what difference you can make to your business. And again, it's not, I would say it's the best kept secret in the property industry, honestly. The conversation I still have with people, it's still a tool that is not understood how powerful it is. But as you know, you highlighted also, it needs structure, it needs to understand. So for me, it was all about creating this, you know, we're going to talk about the training and how to create structure and easy decision, because this is what you need to be super clear, but also confident, because confident is how you can then push all these colors and being showing off of your decision so that you can start being bold in the decision you make. And that is what helps you to stand out. So this comes from, you know, I'm an interior designer, but ultimately my background is in project management. So I worked for these companies, and my role was always trying to simplify process, always looking into methodology and things like that. And what I realized is actually, I thought originally that was just everything was coming up of my mind, but actually it wasn't. There was a very clear process in how I tackle each step of the design to help me reaching the result I reach. So this process is what I would encourage anyone to do anyway. Often we jump, for instance, to colors, or where are we going to put the colors already, you know, and it's like pause. Okay, brief. What's the strategy? Who's the market? What's the area? Do we want to bring some of that, you know, the coastal area? Do we want to bring some of that blue in or not? What's the competition? Who are we competing against? What's the type of property we have? Is it Victorian? Is it period? Do we want to bring that or not? You know, everything has to be intentional. Everything has to be a decision from the start, because the more time you spend just dissecting a bit where you are, the more clues you have in terms of what choice you're going to make. Same thing. Is your room, you know, the type of room you've got? Is it long? Is it narrow? Is it dark? So defining the scope very accurately. And then only you can start translating that onto, okay, what atmosphere do you want to create to attract, to appeal to your market? And that comes with a certain style, and therefore what color. And this is when the colors start coming. Consider the space. You've got to pause and make sure that you think about how you're going to use the space. Do you remember these pockets of life I was talking about? Already there, make your layout as as flowy as possible. You've got to think about that and what lifestyle you're offering to your guest, tenant, or potential buyer. So when you've got the color and you know how you're going to use your space, then you can start defining what I call the decorating plan. This is when you can start, okay, lighting, like you've done, Anthony, lighting your desk, how, you know, like I've done in that kitchen when I had the breakfast bar. It's like, how do you use that paint to help you with the layout, but also with the shape of the room? Is there anything you want to hide? Is there anything you want to highlight? Is it a boring room? Do you want to try to create interest? So this is all the question you go through to create your decorating plan. And then your furnishing, when you bring everything together again with cohesion, that now we have covered. And then, you know, style, because there's a lot of little things, like a big question I asked the other day, and there was so many feedback on this one. Where do you put a towel? On the bed or somewhere else? Question for you. Where do you put the towel when you do a service accommodation? And finally, organize your photo shoot and, you know, how you're going to list, because this atmosphere has to permeate through the whole process and even up to your listing. This atmosphere has to be captured. So there you go. This is what I came up with. So this is the training I've now delivered to around 50 property investors. Profit by design, and it's about learning how to make your rooms work harder. So again, I split all these different kind of sections I talked about into different modules that I teach to different strategies. So what I put there is so 7 steps, 7 modules. It's all online. I included also some tutorials. So for me, it's always about simplicity. My brain likes simple things. So I use, you know, in terms even of a software, I use PowerPoint a lot because that was from my previous background. So for me, it's enough to make this decision, to decide on these colors. It comes also with follow-up session because I want to make sure that people have the opportunity to implement and still having feedback. It's for all level of experience. I mean, I've done from, you know, people who just started in property to even interior designer that joined my class. So the whole umbrella of people, and then all property strategies. So mostly service accommodation, because again, when it comes to experience, what you want to offer to your guests, it's even more powerful. But like you've seen in the examples, if you sell, if you rent, if you have an HMO, even that works. And in fact, I had all type of people, all type of investors joining. And I run it in small groups to make sure, well, that the message is not diluted and I have got, or that they've got all my attention, especially when we do the tutorial. I split it into 2 different type of courses. So I've got a 1-day full on, get your cup of tea ready. 1-day workshop, I think it's from 9 to 5. There we go. With the Q&A session after. There's also, I mean, have a look at, if you're interested, have a look on the website, because there's a lot more that is explained in there. It comes with an interior design guide also that I created. Anyway, there's 3 dates coming up. One which is very soon in September, another 2 in November. Price is 925. For the November date, there's for people on here who are not LNPG, there's like an early bird kind of discount that is currently on the website. LNPG members, there's 30%. Yeah. A 30% discount, which I'm going to maintain. So it's going to be, I think, promoted during September. 30% discount on this one. And again, you can even join the September one, but there's, you know, again, it's limited in spaces. And you've got also the home study. So this is mine, your own time, different budget. The content, I cover the same thing. It's just a different type of format. 10% for LNPG members on this one. And again, you can find the code. Thank you, Laura. The discount codes on the LNPG website. I was so pleased with myself to find the QR codes today. It felt like a massive achievement. So use it. So there we go.
A question about this,
Yeah,
Fabienne. Well,
yeah.
One for Laura first. So is this on the LNPG website? We've got links and everything else to be able to get that.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you've got access. Yeah, there's my in my website. There's basically a course section, and I think this QR code. Oh no, this QR code is you. The next QR code is this one on the left. Is the training basically?
It's on the LNPG website. Fabienne Interior is on our website anyway. And thank you, Laura, for working late doing that. That's your fault, Fabienne. The other thing that I've just to go back one. You've got 3 dates there. So the 8th of September, 3rd of November, and 5th of November. The 5th of November is only 10 till 2.
Oh, no.
Oh,
5.
that's 9 till 5 as well, is it?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
5. Yeah, same full on day, sorry. There you go. So this one, look, this one was just in case we still had time. So I think we might give it
just in case you were.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go to the heart. I like the heart. I've got a couple of questions for you that have kind of trickled in throughout. A fair few about ceilings, would you believe? So the first one, which was all the way back up here, what's your tip for low ceilings? I would never have thought of painting the walls white and the ceiling grey, but it seems to work. I think that was for the gloss kind of ceiling in Liverpool. So if it's got a low ceiling, you've got a dark colour, that's going to bring it down. Is there something to extend a room upwards? Maybe paint the floor, I don't know.
Yeah, there's few things there. Stripes. So stripes, it's the same if you want, I think, to look thinner. It's supposed to wear stripes this way. So stripes up kind of lift the ceiling, and the other thing I'd add is long curtains. Again, it elongates the room. So I have stripes on the walls. No. Did I say ceiling? Stripes on the walls.
You can have curtains coming from the ceiling as well.
Yeah, but that, for the effect you just talked about, it's straps on the walls. But yeah, you can.
You know, I'm just trying to add to the conversation here. Don't worry about me.
Sorry, this is your next office.
Mark has asked, I love this question because it's something that I would ask. If you paint one of the ceilings, so this is about that corridor that had that beautiful dark navy color. If you paint one of the ceilings like that, do you need to paint every ceiling in that dark kind of color?
No. I had this example. There was I did two dark ceiling because we had many rooms. I think we had 6 or 7 rooms in there. You want, as much as you want to maintain cohesion, you want to bring something different. You don't want to repeat yourself. It's like everything. It's like a song. You don't want to be singing always the same stuff. You want to kind of have a bit of everything. So as much as you keep the color scheme and the essence of the property for each room also kind of work a bit independently, and you don't want to kind of have the same tricks within them all. Often what leads the choices, and this is where you need to start with, is why you're trying. If you've got a low ceiling, this takes priority. Let's balance, let's sort all the rooms that have issues with paint, and then what is left is, okay, let's use different technique. Let's have a room that is a lot more quieter. This is something I like to do. If I've got 5 bedrooms, there's always one which is like just a bit more peaceful, no stripes, no nothing, just
actually get some sleep.
Yeah.
One final question then, and I think that's taken us just about to 8 o'clock. So your timing was perfect after all. Is you mentioned quite early on that if you can choose either furnishing or paint, you will go for paint. Now, is there anything that painting the room can't do that furnishing can? That if you've had a lot of situations there where you're not allowed to paint, is that being a kind of major problem? Yeah,
I mean, it's not. It's just in terms of impact. What I said about really trying to attract as many people in, but I mean, you still need furnishing. You still need your bed and everything. The paint is not going to help you with that. But I mean, sorry, I'm trying to think about the paint. For me is what really helps you to, this is the first step. This is bringing people in. The furnishing it's the meat on the bone. It's what helps you if you want to bring ultimately the personality into the space, the homeliness, because, having like empty shelves, having a coffee table without anything on it, this is when you bring a bit more the homeliness, and this is what the job of the furnishing, basically.
I would say when I think of home staging, I'm thinking about physically bringing objects, cushions, lamps, that kind of thing into a room. Whereas painting it, I mean, the effect is obvious, but you can visualize a room. There was some in there that without furniture, you can't really see the size of the room. You kind of got to do a bit of mental labor in figuring out, okay, where would I put the sofa if that was my living room, for instance?
Yeah, again, it's back to this thing with layout. You've got, you know, something I assumed, and I said at the beginning, I always assumed that people could see what I could see. I see a room and I can see straight away where things should go, I should flow, where the color, you know, how to highlight things. But this is why, especially when you sell, there was a question recently in the group, someone asking, I'm selling, do I need to stage, yes or no? And do I need to paint, yes or no? For me, you help your potential buyer, and therefore by helping them, you're helping yourself, because you're giving them the information they need to know how they're going to use the space and the potential in there. You need to chew it for them so that they can really see it. And this is why paint, again, is so important. So both paint and furniture, and using especially the biggest items of furniture, like your sofa and your bed.
Okay, look, it's been absolutely fantastic having you on again. Unfortunately, I've filled with 1,000 new ideas, which I'm going to have to take your training before I can actually do, because now I've seen it's not all about the ideas necessarily. There's actually a plan behind the madness, but there's nothing quite like seeing these things for themselves. And, you know, they've seen 1,001 of them. Some of them have been to die for, others I wouldn't touch with a barge pole, but I'm glad that someone out there is doing it and turning their house into the grimace from McDonald's house. So thank you so much for joining us, Fabienne. Do you just want to go back to your kind of pitch slide, so that there we go, all the information is here and on the LMPG website as well. So if you're thinking of turning your home into the grimace bedroom, then this is how you do
Anthony,
it.
this is not helping, is it?
But if you're thinking about turning your home into something that
maximize your profit on investment,
maximize your profit, stand out from the crowd, all the rest of it, but don't do it like I did, where you kind of jump in the deep end and realize, oh, I don't know how to swim. So Fabienne's put this together, which is a fantastic course. This time next month, we'll be back for end of October, sort of Halloween time. Is it Halloween? No, it's September next month. It'll be September time next month. We'll be back with Sam from Blue Bricks magazine. So we partnered with Blue Bricks magazine only a few months ago, but I've known Sam for a little while now. We've done a few events with him. He's a really nice chap. You might have met him at the LMPG summit that we did. He'll be talking all about kind of selling your story as an LMPG member, well, as a property investor, LMPG member as well, if you like. Don't mind if you do that. Kind of what makes you you and how to tell your story. He doesn't know that he's saying this yet, because I've yet to tell him, but he's publishing a magazine telling property investor stories all the time, and how they can use that to kind of grow their business and grow their network and grow their communities and everything else. So yeah, it's absolutely, you know, I'm trying to read at the same time and it's in French. We're looking forward to that one. We hope to see you there. Thank you again, Fabienne, and thank you guys for joining us tonight. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.